Welcome to Damsels in Dialogue, a podcast dedicated to female protagonists in fiction, film, and the stage. Co-hosted by Katie Zutter
and India Marie Paul. For our third season, we cover animation royalty as we discuss the female protagonists in the Disney princess franchise and the impact they've had on women of all ages.
This episode, we sail through Polynesian seas with an unlikely crew, led by the ocean's chosen wayfinder, Moana. Okay, hello, friends. We are almost done with the season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is a little wild to me. 3 seasons in. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Today's episode is all about the wayfinder Moana. Now, I'm just going to be brutally honest here. This episode will not have nearly as much backstory as other princess episodes. This is another one which a lot of the princesses, especially recently, don't have like original fairy tale-esque stories that they're based on. And this does not either as far as Moana. However, Maui does. Now, does that relate to Moana at all? As a character, as a
story,
person? No.
Not
at all.
Yeah.
She is entirely made up. But I'll just do a brief just chat just to get us into the Polynesians and their lore a little bit. Stick around for the after hours.
Yes.
Where I can actually talk about my notes. Because just so many of them have nothing to do with her. Which, on an interesting note, means that she has almost no criticisms. I could not find criticisms of her because she is entirely made up, and everyone who watched it and saw it from all around was like, yeah, she's great. She's heroic. She's caring. She's fun. She's relatable. Awesome. Really, the only negatives about it was, is this Rapunzel 2.0?
Oh.
Those were the only, and even then, it wasn't like super angry about it. Just, they're quite similar.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, obviously not how they grow and change.
Yeah. No, it seems like there's,
different.
After Rapunzel's success, I think there's a couple like Moana and Anna, I think were definitely built right off of that personality type. And like it I can see that for sure.
There were a lot more criticisms of other things, which T for after hours.
Oh, okay. I'm here for it.
Just to give a brief synopsis so that we have at least where in the world. Moana is based in the Polynesian Islands. Now, I did have to look up exactly what the Polynesian Islands encompassed because a lot of the maps, especially in the United States, are based in a way that makes these seem so far away from each other.
Yeah.
When they're not. Hawaii and New Zealand on most American maps are at the opposite sides of the earth. And actually they are 2 of the 3 points of the triangle that make up the Polynesian Islands.
That's so crazy.
So so it's like a rough triangle, and everything that encompassed inside this triangle is part of the Polynesian Islands. So that includes the tip is, I almost said Moana, is Hawaii.
It's Moana.
It's Moana. Hawaii, and then connecting down to New Zealand, and then across to Easter Island. So anything within that like roughly shaped triangle includes all of that. Hers is not specifically set in Hawaii. It's more along the lines of Samoa.
Okay.
But still
Polynesia as a
whole, whereas Lilo and Stitch was specifically Hawaii. And this one goes into, whereas that was like modern day, which is super interesting. This is more history.
Yeah.
So now that we know where we are, so there is, I'm going to attempt to just say all these words right, and I'm so sorry, but Mo'olelo is what they call stories, myths, legends, and how that is the word for it. The story of Maui is one of those. And now Maui, there are over 20 different renditions of Maui throughout the Polynesian Islands, all over the place. And what's interesting, if you really dive into it, different places feature different parts of his life.
Oh, cool.
Like the most predominant stories about his death are found in New Zealand. So there's that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Maui was a demigod of the land and sea, has tons of stories, was a trickster, and was very compassionate to his fellow humans, and did do most, if not all, of the things mentioned in his
cool.
welcome.
Yeah.
So that is where the history is.
Cool.
Is Moana in it all? No.
No.
Moana is entirely made up. Tahiti also is made up.
Okay, that was about
Tahiti
to ask
is
you
not
that.
a place.
Yeah.
Is loosely based on Tahiti.
Makes sense.
And different different meanings for Tahiti stand for like faraway place.
That's cool.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That they would use kind of a Tahiti knockoff word, if you will.
Yeah.
to name that. Moana itself means ocean. So
that's beautiful.
That is, and that comes back a lot through history. Is Moana is the ocean is very important to them, obviously, because they are wayfinders. Now, something else that does relate to Moana is now there was a time where this is like 35,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago.
Okay. I'm like, wow, we're really heading back there.
Sorry, we're like, 3,500 years ago, after, they were wayfinders, traveling, sailing, etc. Once they arrived in like Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, for whatever reason, they decided to stay. And they stopped wayfinding for almost 2,000 years. That is known as the long pause. There's many reasons that happened. They can surmise that happened. There's no defined history, like this is what it is.
Yeah.
Whether it be they got comfortable or like the tides changed, the seas changed. I mean, because this is thousands of years ago, them returning to wayfinding so long after could also be a variety of things. They talk about the different stars and how the sky got brighter and different stars became more pronounced so they could see better. The tides changed, lots of reasons.
Yeah.
So when they found out about that, they were like, oh, let's add this to the story. So that is where you get which is not really explained in the movie, but that's where you get the they don't sail aspect of it. And then in Disney's rendition, obviously Moana is the one that returns them to
really
their
cool.
wayfinding roots. Yeah. And now the movie did take 5 years to make, came out in 2016. The directors are the same directors. It's Ron Clements and John Musker, who did Aladdin, Princess and the Frog, lots of things together.
Little Mermaid,
Are they two white men? Yes. Annoying. But what are we going to do? I did find it interesting that they waited so long. Something that was cool and something that I was like scared for them. The cool thing is they wanted to find someone to play Moana who was young and from the islands.
Okay.
They didn't want to cast like a known Broadway star, kind of what they've done in the past where it has been women, but they've been older, or, some of them don't sing, and they were like, no, we really want to make this a new talent. And so they actually asked, and people like submitted through YouTube and all over the place.
That's crazy.
Of videos of them singing. So Auli'i, there is a video pronunciation guide to say her full name. So she auditioned and wasn't going to because she had seen so many good ones and then did. And what scared me about it is they waited until October 2015 to cast her.
Wait, this came out in 2016?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Whew. Okay.
They waited so long. And what's crazy is that once they got her, Lin-Manuel Miranda and the other two gentlemen who worked on the project with her or with them, as far as musically, were inspired by her vocal skills.
Okay.
And we're like, great, because of this, we can go hard.
That's nice.
Which is why her song comes back in so many renditions, and she sings a lot.
Yeah, she does.
It is the same song over and over again.
That's a little.
But it's still, it's and it's very, very musical theater in that. And now this is before Hamilton got big.
Yeah, this was, he was actually signed up before that.
Yeah, and now Hamilton was happening. It just wasn't it hadn't exploded yet.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because there's some songs that, like a song that was cut, he had been writing and had all this talent. So Eliza and George Washington
they're backstage.
Recorded the demo.
Might as
for
well.
him. Because why not?
That's amazing. Yeah.
So that was really cool. So I thought that was really interesting that we have some actresses that we've talked about that have changed the characters in different ways. And this one vocally allowed these three musicians, these three guys who are working on the music, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
When you think about it. And three guys who have never worked together before.
Great.
Yep. And they're from all over the world. Like one's from New Zealand, one is from New York City, and one is from LA.
But they did have someone from Polynesia involved.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he got a group of singers together. There was a lot of things. We'll talk about more of the music later because it doesn't involve Moana. But this specifically part of the music, I thought it was really cool that she inspired them to take this song that is Who Am I? And throughout the course of the film, it goes from Who Am I to I Am Moana, which I think is beautiful. I think that is really, really cool. Yeah. And yes, it is a similar song over and over again, but love the idea behind it. Yeah. I thought it was cool that she kind of like made that happen. I think it also works really well that she is younger than a lot of the people who typically portray the princesses. And I think that reads really well. I think she's very relatable as a teenager because I mean she basically was like
but yeah, she does feel the age that she is like that. I did appreciate that. Like we've talked a lot about like who felt older, who felt younger. Like she felt right. Like it felt like
she felt great.
It felt like in the right pocket there.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I think the danger of casting young was that she wouldn't sound mature enough because Moana is very mature. So I was impressed by that she still felt like wise.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You still believed that she was still like young, curious, a touch naive. Yeah. But also, no, she feels it in her bones. Yeah. that something is not right and she needs to do something about it. Yeah. Really cool. Yeah. Really, really cool. And also Moana herself was designed purposefully to be more physically fit.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's great.
That was not an accident. That was on purpose. They really wanted her because she does all this stuff. She's not like some of the other princesses. Like we do have, we have our Mulan, who arguably by the end of it is probably right up there with everybody as far as physically fit. But you see her grow to that point. Yeah. Same with Raya's a little more lean.
She is. But still fit. Yeah. Namari is the one who's like fit.
Yeah. And Moana is bigger.
Yeah. She's built much more like dense
she has thicker arms and strength in her arms and her legs, which is really cool. And they did that on purpose. They did a lot of things that were more traditional princess, if you will,
in the design.
but not without reason. They're like, she is used to climbing all over their homes and climbing the trees and going on the rock. And like, she just does this stuff on a daily basis, much like the rest of the island. So it would be silly for her not to look like that,
Yeah. No, I definitely noticed this specifically in her arms because her legs have a larger skirt kind of covering it. So you don't get to appreciate it as much. But her deltoids and her body, I'm like, okay, thank you. She has muscle definition.
And they purposely made sure she had a slit in her skirt so that she could do all the movements. Yeah. While also still being true to like traditional garb.
Yeah, I was going to ask you with the design, was there a specific island or culture or was it Polynesia in general?
Yeah, similar to Raya. Okay. However, even though a lot of people associate it with Hawaii, a lot of the homes and everything of her island are Samoan.
Okay. And she had that like beautiful headdress and like that official outfit that I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah. Which also piggybacking off of that, it was not uncommon at all for women to lead.
I love that.
In Polynesia. I mean, look at even just Hawaii. Yeah. It was the queens.
There was a queen, and
there are many queens of Hawaii. So gender is very interesting in the Polynesian in a great way.
That's so great. I love it.
Hawaii specifically has more than 2 genders.
I love that.
There's a lot of really cool things in there, which I know that's not as huge in Moana, but it is very cool to see that there is no questioning because there never was questioning that Moana would be the next chief. And her training to be the next chief, that's how it is because that is how it is. Yeah. And I really liked learning that.
Yeah. That makes me really happy.
Yeah. It was really cool. Also, and I think this is a pattern. I'm not sure when this started. Like you had talked about Raya. They did the same thing for Moana. They made the Oceanic Story Trust.
Good. I was about to ask, was there some kind of like people around them?
Thing. I don't know when they started that, but it sounds like for each film that they really need to hone in on a culture they're not aware of, that they've started making foundations.
That's great.
To do so, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And most of the cast was actually Polynesian.
Yep.
There wasn't the controversy of bringing in other
grads. No, they did a great job. All the main characters are The Rock grew up in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Ali'i was also obviously pulled from Hawaii. She found out on like a Zoom call.
They're so bad about telling people. Like,
she was in Hawaii. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, fly you out? We gotta tell you something. Obviously, she's gonna know.
Yeah.
And I think you can find it. I think you can see really the Zoom call of her finding out.
That's really
sweet. Which is like wild. Also, fun fact: she sang some Hawaiian songs and a song from Tangled, which was her favorite song of the time.
That's
from Disney.
Oh, how old was she when she was cast?
Late teens.
I think she was like 14, right? Ish. Like or is she like older? In my brain, I cannot remember.
Born in 2000, she was 15 when she was cast.
15. Okay, so she was. So
it came out when she was 16.
Wow, so it came out when she was 16 and Moana was 16. Roughly. Well, that was nice. Well done.
Right?
Well,
and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows. And she also, like in all her interviews and such, she does read, like you said, where she does have this like maturity to her.
Mm-hmm.
She like plays along with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
That's
seamlessly.
Great. That's great.
Seamlessly. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is like impressive coming from somebody who is relatively unknown.
Yeah.
You know, and to sit next to an A-list celebrity.
Yeah.
And tease him for not being able to pronounce her name right.
It's
great.
I think this whole, like, the casting of Moana proves the point we tried to make in the last episode of, like, you don't have to cast A-list actors. Disney can create them because it's Disney.
And look at what she's done after. She's done so many things since then.
Yeah.
Like, and people love her.
Yeah.
What have we done?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot more to say.
Great.
Before we get into the film. But that's okay. This is still a little bit about the film.
Yeah.
They did, much like Raya and a little bit of Merida. I feel like Raya went through more differences of story since Merida had she seemed to have like a pretty solid storyline in her brain.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was a little more like Raya, where there were lots of different stories thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only constant was Maui, and Maui, the movie is not supposed to be about him. It's supposed to be about Moana.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, that Maui was like a solid thing to hold on to as a legend. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So for a while, she had tons of brothers. And she was the youngest. Yeah, in many renditions, she was a very good sailor. And then they decided later that they would rather prefer Maui to show her how to sail and her just kind of go by gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the brothers were cut as well, obviously.
Yep.
I do agree with that, because in one of the deleted scenes where you see the brothers and the dad, it reads Ariel.
Oh,
it reads
that,
so Ariel. It's not even funny. It's like the dad is like, we do not like... You know, it's very like Mulan, Ariel combined. It's like girls don't sail.
Yeah.
Like, these people who are older than you can't go to that side of the reef. You can't go to those oceans. Blah, blah, you know,
you can't see the humans.
It was literally King Triton.
Yeah,
scolding his youngest daughter all over again.
I'm so happy they cut that. We've seen that. We don't need to see that.
I'm so glad they cut that. And they didn't seem super plussed by it. Like the directors talking about that. They were like, oh, this was fun, but like didn't work out. Yeah. I'm like, I mean, lots of daddy issues. There was a scene they cut that I'm super bummed about, and they were also bummed about, but it just like didn't work in.
Yeah.
Where Grandma Tala and Chief Toy, they are discussing, they're talking like at night when they think Moana's asleep.
Yeah.
And Grandma Tala is like, you have to tell her, like, we can't be sitting here doing this. Like, you're not teaching her the right things of our culture. What are you doing? And it's like a big argument of like how the differences between these two adults in Moana's lives, how they treat her and how they educate her, which is really cool. And it's not that long. It's a really cool scene. I highly recommend you look it up. It is on Disney Plus in the extras.
Okay.
And bummer that it wasn't included.
Yeah, that's
I think
fascinating.
It's really cool because she is caught. She's sitting there with Pua.
Yeah.
Right outside listening to this discussion. And it's also, fun fact, the scene that both the actors who are cast as the chief and grandma auditioned with. So
I feel like they could have totally put that in like that. That's a really cool level of everyone trying to figure out how best to raise people.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really cool. That's a cool element.
It was super cool. And yeah, they were really bummed about it. And it does make sense because a lot of these deleted scenes were of her when she was 8. They they sat on her at different ages.
Yeah.
And 8, they were there a long time. And after playing with all these different scenes, there's more scenes where she's like racing her boat and all this stuff. And they decided that they were spending too much time with her young and they weren't getting to the actual story.
Yeah, that
so
makes
they
sense.
truncated it a lot, which is why you see baby Moana. You don't see her like you see her in that 8 range for like a hot second.
Yeah, or like in the montage of growing up. And yeah.
But it's not they don't live there, which does make sense because this movie is almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
I do understand why. They felt like they needed to do that. Now, speaking of her racing, another thing that I'm going to attempt to say right is hokulea is the voyaging canoes.
Oh, cool.
And she does use a voyaging canoe. And what those are they're like a combination of like a traditional canoe mixed with a catamaran sailboat. So you see kind of like what catamarans are designed for, where you throw yourself off the side of the boat, you tie yourself to the mast, and you use your body weight to shift the boat back and forth.
Yeah.
Along with the canoe aspects of having a physical oar. There we go. A physical oar to use as a rudder and to steer it a little bit and help assist with the sail, which I thought was really, really cool. I loved how that came together, and with those two aspects together, it makes sense why they were able to voyage between all of these islands that are so far away in the ocean. It makes sense like with that combination. I love that they did bring that to the movie as well, and her venturing to learn it. There's one thing I will say before we go on that is, I wish there was more, but there's just not, friends. Everything else is about Maui. But it is not said anywhere that she is based off this character. However, so Maui in history has a goddess partner, I believe is his mother. Her name is Hine, and she was omitted from the story entirely, even though she is like woven into Maui's story, but she was removed, which people were not thrilled about. But when you look up Hine, there is a beautiful poem that like summarizes who she is. The poem is called "I Am Hine, I Am Moana." So I find it incredibly hard to believe that
no one read that.
that no one read that. I'm sure. I don't know if they like. They're obviously not tying her to Hine. Like she is not Hine. But there are some things said in the poem that I would be hard pressed to believe that they did not know that existed.
I'm sure they
were
did.
Making this story.
I am Moana. Okay, I see it. That's really cool.
Right. And that does translate to I am Hine, the name of the goddess. I am the ocean. And so whether that be that, I mean, she's not in it, but is she the ocean? Is she Moana?
I think it all makes like it's inspiration. It doesn't have to be based, that definitely I bet fed it for sure.
Because I could not find any connections anywhere. They were like, oh yeah, she is not in it. Not tied.
Sure.
Okay.
Moana had to come from somewhere.
I believe that.
Did they always, were they searching to do a Disney princess movie? Or was it based on Maui first? It was always Disney princess.
Yeah, they wanted to do Disney princess, and they wanted Maui in it because obviously they found out that he was this big thing, and she was just made
great. And she was made well. Like I don't have
people loved her. People really, really enjoyed her. But that's why our complaints during Made in Madness were, why is she following along Maui's story?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that because she's not based on anything. No. You will always grip into things you're basing it on. Like it just like that's a solid foundation to build off of. So
it's Maui's story that she is in.
Yeah.
Now upon watching it again, and now we can dive into the movie unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
There's like not much else. Yeah. As for her at least. Diving into it, I did like watching it again and trying to look at it a little more open-minded and a little more don't be as angry that it's not about her.
Yeah.
And she's still great. I still love her. I think her as a person is great. I think they did succeed in making it. They wanted to make it more of an adventure story. They wanted to make her more of, a baddie.
Yeah.
And that totally reads, and enjoyed that a lot.
I agree. And I think what kept her from, because she still scored really high in our
Yeah, she still did well.
Did really well. I think she spends so much of the movie with only herself and then Maui that we didn't get to see who she was to other people and how we didn't have evidence of how she treated people. We were to assume that she was a good leader because of the few scenes we get. Because we do get introduced to her solving problems. Like, I really loved the transition of showing the pressure she was under, and then her accepting that challenge and succeeding, and then always having that like in the back of her head, that call.
Yes.
I really like that aspect of it because you understood very quickly what she was up against, the stakes that she was fighting against, and then what her heart wanted. Like, I think that succeeded immensely. But when she was an adult, you got these scenes of her getting to be the leader. Like, there's very few times that we see Disney princesses be a leader.
Trained. She's learning to be a leader with her parents right there being so supportive
and not
of her.
Judging, not like jumping on her, just letting her make decisions.
And that sweet comment when the women come and ask because the coconut groves aren't doing well.
Yeah.
And as they walk away, she's doing great. That's purposefully loud enough so Moana could hear too. Like, that was really endearing.
Yeah. So you see immediately, that she can make decisions.
Yeah.
That she is very intelligent and able to fix problems and very empathetic for what people need. Like, you get a lot in just seeing her lead in a way that you didn't really get from a lot of characters. So I'm like, this is really cool. I really liked it.
I loved it. Yeah, that was really cool. And I love that she had so much family and that she did interact with more than one of them.
Yeah.
Granted, mom not as much, but still, she did have like strong grandma. I thought it was very interesting that they decided that grandma was dad's mom.
Yeah.
And so there was that tension. And that was really cool. I loved her very different relationships with the two of them.
Oh, loved it. I loved it.
I don't know. It was very interesting. And I do enjoy, which is why I'm bummed that scene didn't make it in the film. I get it, but like, I'm bummed because it really, really shows how different these two people saw how they should raise Moana. Yeah. And much like, Ohana of Hawaii and in Lilo and Stitch, that's still, even though this is thousands of years ago, it takes a village,
Yeah, it does. And grandma is like a person that people look to, but also she calls herself the village like crazy lady, which is amazing. Lady, love her. And I love that we get introduced to her. The opening is gorgeous. They've moved from storybooks to 2D, beautifully rendered in whatever traditional style, like inspired by whatever ethnicity. Beautiful. I love it. I love that they've moved from storybooks to like that kind of prologue. But it makes sense because that isn't none of these stories are from storybooks. Yes, exactly. I love it. So it's cool. Anyway, sorry not to interrupt you. No. But I meant to say that more when we were talking about Raya too. Like, I love that transition that we've had. But when she's telling the story to all these babies, and I appreciate that Moana and everyone does not have a top. Like, I love that, like, it feels real. That when you're a baby, like, you're just wearing a diaper. You're just like a baby. You're just a baby. There's one like toddler who's a little older than Moana, who's a girl who has a top in the background of the scene. Because I was looking to be like, are there other girls in this? Yeah. But yeah, for sure. I mean, they're babies. That. I love it. I love that. That's a small thing, but I really appreciated it. And then that she is the only one not absolutely terrified by this story is an immediate introduction to her fascination and curiosity without being afraid of anything. Like, I think that was a great introduction. You get to know the grandma. Like, I love that. Her and when she is dancing with grandma by the ocean in that opening montage song, it is so pretty. And that dancing is, we talked about this in Lilo and Stitch as well. Yeah. But that is straight from the culture. A lot of their dance is from the ocean, and different moves that they do are directly in correlation with different motions that the ocean or the wind, the sun, etc. make. So it was really beautiful how we saw
it a little bit more, not modernized, but how they use it in modern ways in Lilo and Stitch. It was really cool to watch the grandma teach Moana in its original form, if you will. Like by the ocean, watching the ocean, how she describes it is exactly how they pull those moves, which is really cool.
It's so pretty. It makes me so happy that they had a trust of some kind, because it feels like, I don't know, because I honestly am not an expert. I am not Polynesian, but it felt very authentic the way they moved.
Yeah.
In a way that I hope is correct and beautiful. I really love that aspect of it. And it was the song where that whole who you are and the village needing her and getting a run through of the entire village. It was just really well done. It really brought us in very quickly. I was rewatching it. I was like, oh, this is really good storytelling. I was highly impressed by that.
That song also has the most Easter eggs in it.
That doesn't surprise me. That sounds about right.
Yes. All pertaining to the directors and the last movies they did.
Oh, I love that. But she has like the worst sidekick ever.
And I will rage all day. My biggest complaint in the entire world, ever in Disney history, which is a lot to say, because I raged about Hercules. Is that Pua did not go on the adventure, and I'm so sorry for those with headphones, but I don't care. Pua did not go on the adventure. I will rage more in the after hours, but like I have never been more disappointed.
Yeah, like they gave her 2. One is useless. One is useless. Hey is such a useless character.
Comedic relief only. Even Maui's like, nah, I can't eat you.
Oh yeah, you're too sad. I'll ask this question in the after hours, but no, in the after hours, I want to know how long chickens live, because he's there when she was a baby.
None of those creatures make it as long as.
Yeah, because she grew up. It was like, didn't make any sense.
Because Pua she meets as a baby too.
Yeah.
Not baby, but pretty young.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
None of them would have made it ever.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to throw that out there because it really bothered me when I watched the montage. And I'm like, Hay's when she's a baby. I don't understand.
That's what, Disney fun. Same with Flounder too.
That is true. I feel
like there's a lot of them that just kind of like
fair
Disney magic, which is I'm fine with.
Yeah,
I do something that was really relatable watching Moana this time around that I really enjoyed was she doesn't know how to sail. She's trying to figure it out. She knows what very little her grandmother has told her, because honestly, her grandmother doesn't really know.
No, they haven't done
either.
it.
How would they know?
Yeah.
So grandmother taught her everything that she knows, which is the bare minimum. And when Moana's sailing, trying to figure it out, I really enjoyed that you watched her. I thought it was really cool that they made the choice that Maui would teach her.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really cool that they both teach each other things. I think that was really important.
Yes.
But on the way to Maui, I love her practicing her
I love it so much. Yes.
She has such high expectations on her shoulders and is trying so hard to make sure, because she's grown up practicing and rehearsing, if you will, and training to be this leader.
Yeah.
And she's like, I got to do this. So that's kind of like what she reverts to, is like, okay, this has got to go right the first time. I got to convince him. I'm going to practice. Yeah. And I thought that was really endearing and incredibly relatable to see, because so many of the more naive princesses just like fall into things.
Yes, that's very true. She Moana actively goes to get things.
Yes. It's not like surprise Maui's here. It's like she's like, she knows what she's getting. She knows what she's doing and is trying her best to do it right. She's still only 16. But
I agree.
Doing her best.
Her practicing the line that her grandmother gave her, and that death scene is absolutely stunning and so sad. And the stingray coming, gorgeous.
Because that's also a thing, is that in different cultures in Polynesia is death, and do the spirits stay with you and your ancestors, things like that. That's all very in their culture, and her with the tattoos, that is also very cultural. And it just felt so beautiful.
Yeah, it did. I really, really enjoyed that.
And I also loved, it was kind of that too, that also felt very, very cultural, that yes, she is obviously sad that her grandmother is not doing well, but it is very obvious to Moana, and at least I assume to most of the viewers that this is a gift.
Yeah.
This is like the last gift grandma is giving her. And so I think it's really powerful that on the back of she is upset, but knowing this is it.
Yeah.
And the excitement too of her doing this literally on the back of her grandmother, giving her like, you got this, girl.
Yeah. Energy just like right at her.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that that comes back.
Yeah.
That she does look to her grandmother for that when she does return at the end to give her hope.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Well, speaking of that moment too, and this kind of ties into the grandma in general, is that with Moana, that relationship is that the grandma always made the choice to do or not do something up to Moana. She never told her to do anything. And that was really important, a really important distinction when Moana's like, I'm just going to go put my stone on the thing. It's going to be fine. And she's like, okay. Yeah, this like refuses to tell her what to do and causes Moana to make that choice for herself. And I really, really love that because one, it's funny, like that scene of like, sure, you go do that. Like,
you're being weird, grandma.
Yeah, like I love that kind of like reverse psychology. It's great. But also in that moment where she gets to hug her spirit, which is a little weird, but like I love it. It's beautiful, so I don't really care. That she's like, you can go home. You can. You don't have to do this. And like not judging, just being like, if this is too much, then go home.
Right.
And like it's such a caring way. Like so Moana is not pressured or guilted for not being able to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's really cool. And that's a really important distinction because then everything that she chooses to do, she actually chooses to do.
Which is the opposite of how her father does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which also probably tightens their relationship, grandma and her. You know?
This is beautiful. That was a really specific thing that I noticed this time around looking at Moana. I'm like, man, she gets to choose those things. And something else in the Maiden Madness we had discussed was like, is she doing it for herself or she's doing it for the village? And it is both. And I think that's why it felt like more of like in the middle on that scale because she's doing it for herself to figure out which is just as important.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But even as opposed to Raya, who we talked about last time, Raya was only there for her
completely
dad.
For her dad. Yeah.
Whereas Moana was definitely equal parts.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I like that for her. It did make her in some ways very heroic. And another one of those things where the selfishness isn't the negative side of selfishness. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like you're still allowed to find out who you are.
Yes.
You know, like that you can take that time for yourself. So I did appreciate that it was a mix of things and it didn't feel complicated. Sometimes that can feel like really complicated. It felt like both things were coming together and it was her moment to go do that. And how terrifying. Thinking about these boats, like there's no cabin, there's no like bed, there's no cargo hold. You're just on the ocean.
Just a little cargo hold.
There's a tiny one. But like where do you have to fish for your food to eat? Like what?
I mean, that's what she does already. That's
insane.
what the island does. That's how they
As someone just living, you know, like that would terrifying.
Be very, very normal to them in that period.
Yeah.
She does bring some stuff.
Yes, and then loses
does it make it that far? Not really, because she loses it all. But it's also very wishy-washy of how long it actually takes place.
Yeah, there's no way to really tell.
No, which is like, all right, you kind of forgive it because you're just watching this adventure.
Yeah.
I would love to chat about her relationship with Maui.
Yes.
Because obviously that is
a huge...
most of the story. Most of the story is her and him.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is he changes, much like a normal, like the traditional Disney princess stuff, he changes because of her.
Yes.
He changes because of how good she is and just her. But what I think is interesting about this one is that she also changes, whereas a lot of ones don't. She at least finds herself.
Yeah.
But it's not Maui that changes her. I think it's cool that she, through maybe her grandmother, but primarily like her just unlocking herself.
Yeah.
if you will. She changes a little bit or grows into herself because of her, not because of outside things, like her choice to go on this journey and everything. Whereas Maui is changed entirely by her. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, Maui definitely it is the traditional, like, her courage and heart. Her heart, like, really really changes him. Which I always like a good cynic turned, like, I guess I'll help, you know, like that.
And
I love
talk
that.
of family too is really sweet because like she, even though her dad was like, oh, this is what you're doing. They're still all so supportive.
Yes.
Like mom, dad, and grandma. She had, even though she's an only child, she had such a supportive family. She had a supportive community of people. With just that one line, if she's doing great, you know. Whereas you learn immediately off the bat that like nobody cared about him.
Yeah, I really think that they do. They're a good complement to each other. I think she, to me, doesn't in her core change, but she didn't need to. She grew up,
find herself.
She grew up and she changed in her confidence and in her being fully who she is. The whole I am. I mean, like her screaming, "I am Moana,"
dead,
stunning,
powerful,
like,
cry,
great.
That's my favorite version of the song.
Yes,
is the I am Moana. 11 o'clock number, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's some of the beautiful music that accompanies, especially when it's in not English. Like, I'm not sure which language it is in, but it's just absolutely stunning. Yes. Yeah.
Which also, totally forgot to mention, fun fact about Moana, it was also released in Maori.
That's
which
awesome.
You can watch it on Disney Plus.
That's great. That's really cool. Love that for Disney doing that. But yeah, I love the accompaniment of those underneath when like her grandmother's coming back, and it just feels so beautiful. And
I'm spoiling all my fun facts now, but those happened first too. They did the vocal lines before they did the accompaniment.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They did it backwards.
I love that
for this film. So everything you're describing, was recorded first. And then they laid the orchestra on top of it.
Because it's very minimum. So, like the music is not nearly as powerful as the vocal melody. That's great. So
that's really cool that you mentioned that that's something that motivated you and inspired you and was empowering to listen to.
Yeah, it was.
And they did that first, and you can tell.
Like that's the perfect time to do something like that. It just felt it felt beautiful, and the screaming who she is, diving after it's great, and she does have the traditional fall down cry moment, but it's on the edge of this boat, and I'm just like, oh, that's just stunning.
And this is understandable. It is normalize girls crying. Normalize anyone crying. When they're upset. Like, oh my gosh.
When she's like in tears, like trying to convince Maui to, I'm just like, it's great. It's just great. I do think
I was devastated when she gave the stone back.
Yeah.
And the light kept reflecting in her eyes, and you could see the tears streaking down her face. And she's like, pick somebody else.
Yeah. It's so hard. Like, what? It's good. It's great to see that moment where it was too hard. And I think that
insecurity, that everything.
Yeah. You don't see it when you do see it in Disney, because there are moments in Disney princess movies where it's too much to take, and then you see overcoming it, and which is like the whole being an amazing hero, all of those things.
Yeah.
But she sits in it for quite a while. You sit in that it's too hard moment, and she's abandoned in the middle of the ocean. So there's like an extra level of loneliness. That
on top of her being abandoned because she did not listen to Maui.
Yeah.
She not only didn't listen to him because she was being rash and not thinking things through because she's 16.
Yeah,
but his hook is almost destroyed, which is the only thing in this movie that makes him a demigod. The only thing that makes him magical. So you're almost not like you're still frustrated at Maui, but you're not that frustrated when he leaves. Like it makes sense.
It's she made a mistake, which is a big that's good. Like I love that she makes a mistake and causes these issues, and then decides to go face. She faces a lot of things in this. Like she jumps into the realm of monsters, is what they call it. And I'm not sure if that's. I'm sure everything's taken from mythology, but like
that one's at Disney. They decided that's where all of the demons go, or the monsters go and live when they're fought away.
That makes sense.
There were lots of weird monsters that I couldn't super find in their history, but still cool, still scary.
It makes sense. It felt like a fabrication of like a generalized area of bad, which is great for that moment. But she's just like she's not gonna. A human's not gonna jump into the
amount of time that he's like, she's dead.
Yeah, like she should be. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Jumping into the realm of monsters and then gets dressed up and as a distraction. Like, oh my gosh. I love
how
it.
mad she is at Maui.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah. It's so good. But so their relationship is fascinating because they don't take anything from each other. Like they both butt heads, but neither is backing down, but it's not disrespectful as much as it is like a kind of a playful banter-y. And
I mean, Maui does try to kill her a couple times.
That's true.
At the beginning. He does stop that after a while.
Yeah, that's a little...
But it's done off as like playful.
Yeah.
But like...
The reality is
she was going to lock her in a... Yeah. She was going to be left on that island. And not just left on the island. Blockaded into a cave with nothing.
Yeah.
But a sculpture of himself on the island.
Yeah, that's not really great. He's not the best. Like, they do play off a lot of pretty horrible things.
Yeah.
That he does.
Because the first time he throws her in the water, he doesn't think
it's
the
like
water's going to bring her back.
Fully die in the ocean. Like, full on that. Does he deserve a redemption arc? I'm not sure. Well, we can talk about that in the after hours, but I have feelings.
We have lots of
Maui talk for
after. Just because there's a lot about him, and I'm very excited to tell you about him. I think it's really cool what they pulled out and what Dwayne also brought to the table.
I do.
As far as that character.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited about that. I do think that it's cool that she ends up being not like she is in distress multiple times, but there are just as many times that she is the one saving the moment. I love when she jumps up and attacks coconuts because that's just he's like the pirate ship coconuts. Like, what is that? I have no idea, but it's great. She just jumps to go save. Hey.
That is
that a thing?
Also some controversy.
Okay.
So Kakamora is actually like truly a legendary like race of short statured people.
Is it? Okay.
Okay. However, making them super tiny, putting them in coconuts, which coconut is also used as a racial slur for people in the Pacific Islands, was like not their smartest choice.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the big like, you did all this research and you missed that?
Yeah. Of all the things, I legitimately thought they were just coconuts. I'm not going to lie to you. I legitimately thought they were just magic coconuts because we had just met a talking huge crab.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. Yep. No. Now, it could be set up to the Polynesian still is a pretty vast array of islands. So maybe, I know they worked a lot out of, they visited quite a few islands, but they worked a lot out of New Zealand. So New Zealand may not have like the coconut being used as a racicial slur, maybe used in other of the islands. And maybe that's why they didn't catch it or they just didn't talk to the right people.
Yeah. That sounds like someone wasn't in the room who should have been like, hey, let's not do this. So
that was one of the it's funny, but that's also another one of those like coconut tropes, like the happy natives and the coconuts, like that. They're kind of sick of that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, they're pretty sick of that cliche.
That's good to know.
Cliche trope. So
did not know
I didn't know if that would come up now or if that would come up.
Well, no, that's good. I had no idea because it was just in my brain. It was just a magical coconut. There wasn't like okay. Cool.
Nope.
Good to know. Her diving in to these like pirate ships.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because she needed to get that. I love too that it was like, there was like a very mixed review of like, are we concerned about her?
Yeah.
Like,
he does. Hey gets his shining moment, where he saves the heart when she just is like, I'm going to cross the thing. And there's a lava monster. Like, she has no magical powers. The ocean only kind of shows up every once in a while to help her.
Right, because she's got to do it herself.
Yeah.
Which does make sense.
Yeah. It's rare to see a non-magical anything person facing a huge, magically filled lava monster.
Right. But Moana's got nothing.
Moana has piece of wood, a stupid chicken, and a sail, and she's gonna go by this lava monster. Like that was pretty amazing for her to decide to do that. I wasn't bothered when Maui came in. I'm like, please, he is a demigod. Can we get a little bit of help, please?
And when he comes in, just another cultural thing that I think is really, really cool is when his hook breaks and he needs to get the attention of Teka to get her off of Moana, he does the haka.
Yes, I did notice that.
Really,
That's
really
so cool. I love that.
I love that. I love seeing that. And Moana almost did. Was almost kind of taught haka. There was a song originally in the story that was like, put on your scary face, or like something along those lines. This is one of the demos that Eliza and George Washington sang.
That's amazing. That's great.
And it's him kind of showing that it was supposed to be a like, look, this is like the exterior, shade your exterior, not like, don't use your interior. You know, and so it was him being like, show your scary face. And it was, you know, where in the haka, Lin-Manuel Miranda talks about seeing like these, you know, women talking to them, great, go from like best friends, cool, into these like just wild faces that is so instrumental in the history and culture of the haka, and women do it too. It's not just men.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So it was really cool that they almost included that, and I do understand why they did not include that because how I think his intentions were good at trying to include that in there. I think it being used as don't be exterior, use your heart.
Yeah,
isn't quite the right.
Yeah, it's not quite the right message, but I do appreciate. I agree. I appreciate that he tried to put it in a very big way.
For sure. And I'm glad that Maui starts it. I think that's really, really cool. I think they did a really good job to help. And it, you know, gives Moana a chance, which then leads to one of my favorite moments when she leans down to the water and says, let her come to me.
Oh my God. Okay. We got to talk about this. We got to break down what this means. Do you have any... Do you have any idea if this twist about Te Fiti being Te Ka was from the beginning?
Do you mean like
in the
historically?
Story? Like, no, not historically.
Or the
like when they were developed. Like I don't know if there's any like did they always intend for this moment because it is so allegorically big.
It's huge. Well, since the story was so different, because Te Fiti is not real either.
Yes. Yeah.
That was also not a thing.
I just want to know.
Like one of the original story was she was trying to live up to her dad's expectations. Then the next story was she's going to save her dad. So none of them include Take.
Yeah, like there had who came in and went, she's going to go give this heart and we're going to have this allegory of this woman's heart being stolen by this selfish man, demigod, and it creating a monster of destruction.
Yeah.
Like who walked in one day and went,
I don't know, man.
Here's what we're going to do. Because, oh my God.
So good.
It's so beautiful. Good. It is
and
so
I love that
powerful.
It's Moana that figures it out. I love that she's the one who looks, and yes, you know, Maui says, you know, put it in the spiral.
Yeah.
But for her to see that and then sing, I have come the horizon to find you. Like, I know your name.
It's so
done. Sold. Like, what?
Yeah.
And she sees it from like the moment she sees that there, she understands woman to woman, if you will.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You know, and this is not a romance breaking heart.
No.
Broken heart, you know?
Yeah. Like it's
like this is so much deeper.
You can put so much allegory into this moment. Like it's intense. And seeing the ocean actually, because the ocean, whenever she actually asks for help, sometimes just doesn't listen.
Yeah, it really depends. It's like you're help me get the boat up, and the ocean's like,
you got it.
I'm helping you right now.
Yeah,
I'm literally making a storm so that you get to this island because you're going the wrong way.
You're welcome. But she asks, you know, it's like, let her come to me. So she commands the ocean, which is badass. And then it splits into these beautiful walls. Like her slow-mo with her hair blowing and just walking through these walls of water, and Te Ka just like crawling like a demon. Just at her, and that like the forehead to forehead. It's just so incredibly beautiful to see this young woman give the heart back to this older woman who has turned into a monster, essentially. Like I don't know who said it, but I want them to get all the credit, because that kind of twist has nothing
really
to do with Moana as a person, but allegorically is beautiful. Like that's what the twist at the end has nothing to do with really the story of Moana. She's found who she is at that point.
She just sees Te Kā and being like, oh no, you've also lost your way.
Yeah. Like
I have just found my way. Let me help you find yours.
Yeah. Like it's such an interesting twist at the end of this movie that you can't really see coming, because you're not thinking about Te Kā. Like you're not thinking about Te Fiti, you're thinking about her. So I don't know. It's just stunning. It's absolutely stunning,
really beautiful
to watch. And that's the moment that made me think, ooh, does Maui deserve a redemption arc? Because he did that to her. Like that, when you realize what the actual results of what he did, I was like, oof, I feel weird about Maui now. I was on board, and now I feel weird.
And we will talk a lot about that in the after hours, because most of the biggest criticisms were about Maui. Yeah. A lot of people loved him, but there were also a lot of criticisms about how he was done. Yeah.
And I mean, there's always the possibility of it feeling weird when you have a young teenage woman and an older man traveling together.
And he is depicted as a lithe teenage boy.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think there were two reasons behind changing it. One, I think they wanted purposely to make her not have a love interest.
Yes, that was
And if he was also a lithe teenager on the cusp of manhood, too many people would be like, ugh, are they in love?
Yes. Oh yeah.
People were even weird about it after. They're like, are they? No, they're not. They're
no. Yeah.
Never.
I will say there wasn't any tension, which I appreciate, because it would have been really weird. So I do appreciate that.
And then two, obviously, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is.
It might help that I also know, and pretty much everyone knows who Dwayne The Rock Johnson is.
Oh yeah. So
knowing that felt less weird, because you knew he was like father age. As well. Yes. So there was never a question like, oh, it's really hard to see Maui and not see Dwayne. Like he just, it's just him.
Yeah.
So I think that helped them, because it could have been a lot weirder than I think it was in the movie. So I think they handled it well.
Oh yeah. No,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard the joke that like, if you want to put a Disney movie on, like put Moana on, because it's not gonna, it's the safest. It's one of the safest movies you can put in, because it's just not as dark as some things get.
It really is, because there are some dark things, but it never gets too scary.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think part of that is you do have a lot of the moments that get real scary. Hey does something absolutely dumb.
Yes, like, they balance it very well.
The tension is really high. We're going to put Hey is going to do something weird here.
Yeah.
Or even when they go down into the thing of monsters.
Yeah.
And meet.
Oh God, that crab.
Oh my gosh, when he's like, I see. She has put some algae on a barnacle as a diversion. Like, are you kidding me? Like, they also, he is very scary, but they made him funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all the super scary things, they've added a comedic like idiocy to a lot of them.
Yeah. The only one that didn't was Te Kā was never funny, but you did have Hey.
Yeah. You have Hey in the middle of sailing around a lava monster.
Yeah.
Saving the day.
In the coconut for a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so that definitely helped. And I agree. I think it does. It's also like fairly long.
It is. Yeah. It doesn't. It feels a little bit long when we get into like her being alone on the ocean. I think like some of that journey feels a little long, but not boring. So there's a ton of music. Like I think that definitely helps. So it was I randomly heard like, oh, put Moana on, like, because that's like the safest one. Like there's not, even when the grandma passes away, it's this beautiful like rebirth moment into the stingray. Like it's there's no big, classic Disney now, the modern Disney rather. There's no villain. Yeah.
There's like scary bad guys, but there's no big villain, because even Te Kā obviously is not
Yeah, she's
the villain everyone thinks she is.
Love it.
So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I did watch this in theaters by myself. Went on, it may have been opening day, and it was me and an exorbitant amount. Exorbitant. I can't even say that word. A ton of children and their moms.
Yep.
And I was by myself listening to all of them laugh at Hey.
Well, good. That's who Hey for. I think he's just an idiot. Moana's not one that I watch all the time, but because I don't have the nostalgia for it, like because it came out when I was an adult.
Yeah.
But I do think that rewatching her, I got a reappreciation of just how intelligent she is. Because she, unlike some naive characters, we talked about even Anna in Frozen, she knows the dangers of going to sail. She is smart enough to understand how dangerous it is to go sail around a lava monster, and she chooses to do it anyway. So I appreciate how mature she is. I love seeing her lead. I love seeing her. One of the first things we get out of singing as an adult is she flies down from the rafters,
and
having
she's not an
fixed
adult.
a house.
She's still a kid.
Teenager. Yeah, as a
she's
teenager.
Still a teenager.
Flying down from the rafters, having fixed a roof. Like what is that? That's fantastic. She's physical. She has different skills. Like I think she's a really good role model.
Absolutely.
She's fantastic.
And I think they really did her well because they wanted her to be relatable to a lot of audiences.
Yes.
And I think by making her intelligent, making her a little more athletic, more sporty, which totally makes sense for the world. Like nothing felt forced.
Yeah.
I also loved you have the combination of unrealistic hair expectations where her hair is beautifully pulled back.
Yes.
With nothing. It's just dry, bone dry.
Yep.
Just out of her face, straight back, which is not realistic. But then you have all these realistic moments of the wet hair whipping in her face multiple times.
Much. Yes. I love that she puts it in a bun. I know that's a little thing, but like her and Maui both put their hairs in buns. I'm like, thank you. Because, we got stuff to do sometimes.
Yes.
Like, I love that.
You can't always do that with their hair in her face. And so I thought that was really fun. And I really enjoyed that they did that. And I'm sure that was a little bit of a nudge towards, because it's always been, princess hair has always notoriously been like unrealistic standards.
So, and they poke fun.
Very fun.
They poke fun at the Disney princess thing. Like Maui's like, you got an animal sidekick, you're a princess. Like that's fun. I enjoy that little dig at things. Like I think they accomplished a lot. I like it.
She has not been coronated either.
No?
She is at Disney. She is not coronated. I think the fault is because Frozen came out before.
They don't need to be coronated. They're their own thing.
I don't know, because they really like to do them in order, because that's the same thing like I've mentioned with Tiana, where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna coronate her. Poop, forgot to coronate Rapunzel, gotta do her first. Like,
well, how is that not like in the calendar as soon as a movie is released? Like couldn't tell you. Like you get to like, people will come. Like it's a celebration. Oh,
it's huge events. Yeah. It's really fun. You can see a lot of them.
What are they doing?
You can see them online.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to watch, because all the princesses come. There's carriages. They put them at different Disney parks. Sometimes host it. It's really cool.
What are they doing? What?
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. So I don't know if they're waiting for Elsa and Anna or what. Because that would be really cool. Because I believe they coronated another Disney princess who is technically not in the Disney princess franchise.
Ooh, did they?
She is the first Princess Elena of Avalor.
Oh, that's right. She's not in the franchise because she's a TV show.
Well, she's a princess. Yeah. She was the first.
That's right.
Latinx princess. But she was coronated.
What are they doing? Like Moana, they haven't done. Raya finally showed up in things. Moana's not coronated. It doesn't.
Yeah. At least Moana is at the parks.
That's true.
At least she was at the parks pretty well. Her movie was very successful.
Yes.
Hers did very, very well. It is still quite popular. So popular, in fact, that she is getting a TV show that was announced right before the
I know.
right before the pandemic, the Personal Pan Pizza. So it was supposed to come out Supposed to come out 2023.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The latest I could find on it, because all the articles saying it's coming out 2023 are from like 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
The latest news I could find on it was that it has been, the release date is for 2024.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too.
Is going to be, from what I can find, which is very interesting to me because a lot of the other ones they announced at the same time have already come out. So I'm like, why aren't you telling us more about Moana? I don't know if they're like changing things or adding things or taking time to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I know the actress has been doing lots of things in between, and obviously Dwayne is busy, so I don't know if that's part of it.
Yeah.
Obviously the pandemic also
turned things around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a musical TV show of her traveling around the Polynesian Islands.
That's really cool.
And if Pua doesn't come, I will riot.
That's fair. That's fair.
Sorry for that script again. I'm so sorry for when you edit this footage.
Or
this sound, rather.
I love it. I love it. I think
Headphone
that
warning.
she is set up to have a really easy to get into TV series with
TV
her
show.
being a wayfinder. Like it makes sense that she can travel. They can be at a lot of different places. They can see a lot of different things.
It'd be cool too because it would explore the cultures more.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to Maui too that if he did come along, you could learn more about his stories and you could go to the different islands and really see how different the cultures are amongst the similarities. I don't know. I think
it'd be really cool.
I agree with you. I think it is perfectly designed to have a TV show, and it does not need to be a prequel.
No, thank goodness. Like I like some prequels have worked out, and some I'm just like, what are we doing? You're afraid to tell the rest of the story. Like that's really what's happening. So I'm really happy that she's getting it and Tiana is getting it. I feel much better about where I think they'll take Moana than Tiana because I have no idea with Tiana. But I think Moana is set up for a really cool thing.
I'm very excited to see where she goes.
Yeah. Oh, she's already great. So I hope they give the Moana the same treatment that Rapunzel's did because it was just such a well done show that I hope it gets a similar care to the maturity of content too.
I feel like those end caps of like Ariel started pretty darn strong.
Yeah.
Like her TV show was pretty strong for the time period and everything.
Yeah.
And then a billion
they just like stop putting work or like stop putting their people on it.
They stopped trying this. And then Rapunzel came back and was like, look what we can do. And I really hope that Moana does the same. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think it could be really cool. And at least it's set up in a way that it will not be difficult at all.
Yeah. They're going to have to work to mess that up, I think. Yeah. So don't do it, Disney. Like just keep it where it's good and keep her great. So
I don't know. I don't have any other specific notes on her. But she's great.
She's great.
She's wonderful. Yeah. I think she's super fun. I think she's a great role model.
Yeah.
I love that her personality is like the best parts of all of the princesses we love.
Yeah, it really is.
That's like kind of great.
Yeah. I was very impressed with the humor that she had, the kindness she had, and the intelligence that she had. They encapsulated and the athleticism that she had. Like that was really cool to see a very physical.
So many.
Yeah, and that's what Merida had the physical, but she missed a lot of the other parts. Yeah. So
no, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah. And I know I said this like a billion times during this episode, but After Hours.
Yes.
Check out our After Hours for Maui, where most of the inspiration for this movie came from.
Yeah.
All right. Now, one last very important thing before we wrap up the episode is it is almost time for Maiden Madness Round 2. But this year, we decided to make it a little different. We had so much fun last year diving into the women of Disney and seeing which one was most heroic. And something that we kind of found ourselves falling back to and kind of wanted to talk about was the men in their lives. So for this Maiden Madness, we will be going through and deciding who is the most supportive sweetheart.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the love interests of the different heroines and different women in the Disney franchise. We're really excited about that. And Pixar. We're going to throw in, last time we did some Pixar women as well. So we're going to throw in some of the Pixar sweethearts as well into this section. We are going to make sure to check out our social media during this week. We're going to have, for our patrons, you can go vote for your favorite himbo because we have some free pass spots for this bracket. So
and now social media, they can vote too, right?
They can. So we're going to check out all the social medias. We're going to put up some different polls. So make sure we're going to do it throughout the week. So check back. We'll make sure we get everyone's vote in.
You want your favorite himbo to make it. Now, if you really want your favorite himbo to make it, if you really want him to go far, guys, Patreon is where you want to be because your vote is weighted a little higher than on regular social media.
Yes.
So take that into consideration, friends.
Yeah. Join us over there. You get also a lot of other cool things by joining us on Patreon. But that's one of the benefits is getting to vote. So if you're in the middle tier supporting the podcast, then you get to have some votes in this. And we'll make sure that is a lot more fun in the middle of this tournament as well. We had that weighted last time to help. And, it actually came down to really helping and being.
Sometimes it changed the outcome, which was really, really cool. And yes, on social media, it helps a lot too.
Yes.
But with that extra weight, it does a lot more. So we are so excited to do that. And who do you think would win? I don't know. We'll see.
We should cast like predictions at the beginning and then see how wrong we are because
obviously that's always how it goes. And then we will all forget the best one. Yeah. Like we did last year with Mulan. It'll be fine. Yes. So make sure to vote for your favorite himbo. And thank you for listening to this episode all about Moana.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Damsels in Dialogue. Join us next week for our final regular season episode with one of the original Disney princesses who saved the studio from bankruptcy, Cinderella.
If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can help us reach even more listeners by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a rating or comment on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you are listening.
If you want to join us for even more discussions about Moana or extra thoughts about any of our episodes, head over to our Patreon. There you can support the podcast and unlock an entire library of our exclusive after-hours video podcasts with new episodes arriving each month. You can unlock research notes, bloopers, and more.
Follow us on social media and at our website on damselsindialogue.podbean.com. Until next time, this has been Damsels in Dialogue.
Have a nice day.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Royal Princess Parties, LLC, and is produced by Hello Out There Audio, part of Hello Out There Productions.